I never thought one careless joke could ruin me or open a door I should have never touched. That night, the office lights were dimmed and the entire floor had been transformed into a celebration. Blue and white balloons, a happy birthday CEO banner, and a crowd of colleagues who suddenly acted as if they loved our iron-fisted boss. Everyone was smiling too much, drinking too fast, and laughing too loud. I stood near the back, clutching a half-empty glass of wine, wondering why I had even come. Then she walked in. Victoria. Her red silk blouse caught every pair of eyes in the room. Her hair was perfectly styled. Her glasses framed a gaze that could cut through steel, and the golden heart pendant around her neck glimmered under the warm light. I swear the entire office shifted with her presence, as if gravity itself bent around her. I had always feared her, admired her, maybe even something more, but fear was the safer option. The toast began. Someone clinked a glass, others raised theirs. When it was my turn, I should have said something polite, rehearsed harmless. Instead, nerves and wine betrayed me. I lifted my glass, forced a grin, and blurted out to our CEO, "You may be a bad boss, but you'd make a great wife." The room froze, a silence thick enough to drown in. A few glasses paused midair. Colleagues glanced at each other, half smiling, half horrified. I felt my face burn, and then she smiled. Not the cold corporate smile she used for investors. No, the smile was sharp, knowing, dangerous. She walked toward me slowly, heels striking the floor like a countdown. When she reached me, she leaned in so close that her perfume tangled with my breath. Her lips brushed the air by my ear as she whispered, "You're fired." The words weren't loud, but they thundered inside me. Fired? Was she serious? Everyone around us strained to read her expression, but she gave them nothing. Just that dangerous smile. I swallowed hard. "That was a joke," I stammered. She tilted her head, eyes locked on mine like she was dissecting me. Was it? For a moment, it felt like the party disappeared. The music faded. The chatter blurred, and it was just her and me in a bubble of heat and silence. She let her fingers slide along the rim of my glass as if testing how steady my hand was. My heart raced. I thought she would walk away, laugh it off, leave me humiliated. Instead, she murmured, "Tomorrow my office, 8 a.m. sharp." And just like that, she pulled away, leaving me dizzy and terrified. Colleagues tried to laugh off the tension, but the whispers had already started. I caught the shocked face of one coworker, Mark, mouth open, eyes wide, as if he just witnessed something forbidden. I wanted to disappear, yet deep inside, beneath the fear of losing my job, there was another feeling I couldn't deny. A thrill. The way she looked at me wasn't professional. It wasn't boss and employee. It was something darker, something dangerous, like a fire I wasn't supposed to touch. I knew I should apologize, beg for forgiveness, and hope to keep my position. But part of me didn't want to. Part of me wanted to know what would happen if I actually showed up at her office tomorrow. The thought alone felt like betrayal of the company of common sense of the line I swore I'd never cross. But her voice lingered in my ear, soft and merciless. "You're fired," except it didn't sound like an ending. It sounded like a beginning. I barely slept that night. Her whisper replayed in my head on a loop. "Tomorrow my office, 8 a.m. sharp." Was it an execution order or something else? By morning, my hands shook as I adjusted my tie. My reflection in the elevator mirrors looked pale, guilty, like a man walking to his own funeral. The higher the floor climbed, the louder my heart pounded. When the doors opened, the office felt unnaturally quiet. No chatter, no footsteps, just the hum of the city beyond the glass walls. Her office door was half open, a deliberate invitation. I stepped inside. Victoria was already there. The blinds were half drawn, allowing streaks of golden light to cut across the room. She sat at her desk in a red blouse, black leather skirt, glasses low on her nose as she scribbled on a document. She didn't look up, not right away. She made me wait. Finally, her eyes lifted, pinning me like prey. "You're on time." "Good. I like punctuality." I swallowed hard about last night. "Don't." She raised a hand. I don't want apologies. I want answers. Her voice was calm, but the edge in it made my stomach twist. She stood and crossed the room slowly, each step controlled, deliberate. When she stopped in front of me, she reached out and straightened my tie, her fingers brushing against my chest as if by accident. My breath caught. "Tell me," she said softly, almost mockingly, "when you joked that I'd make a great wife. What did you mean?" The air thickened. I could hear my pulse hammering in my ears. Her perfume, something expensive, intoxicating, wrapped around me. I tried to speak, but words tangled on my tongue. I didn't mean. Her eyebrow arched and she leaned closer, lips so near I could feel the heat of her breath. Didn't mean or didn't dare to mean. For a moment, I thought she would kiss me. My body leaned forward instinctively, drawn into her gravity. But she stopped, a wicked smile curving her lips. She knew exactly what she was doing. She turned, walking back to her desk, hips swaying in measured defiance. I stood frozen, caught between fear and desire. She picked up a folder, flipped it open, and slid it across the table toward me. "Your task for the week," she said. "A new client project. High stakes. If you fail, you're gone. If you succeed," she paused, looking at me over the rim of her glasses, "we'll discuss what else you're capable of." My throat went dry. It wasn't just about work. I could hear the unspoken rules in her tone, see the challenge in her eyes. "You wanted to play with fire last night," she added, almost whispering. "Now you'll learn what it feels like to burn." Her words pierced me, leaving me both terrified and electrified. I picked up the folder, my hands trembling. I wanted to ask what this was. Punishment? A test? A dangerous invitation? But she had already returned to her chair, pretending to type on her laptop as if I was dismissed. And yet, when I turned to leave, her voice stopped me in my tracks. "Oh, and one more thing." I glanced back. She wasn't looking at her screen anymore. She was looking at me, only me. Closed the door. The way she said it, low, commanding, intimate, sent a shiver through me. My hand tightened on the doorknob. Closing it meant stepping into something I wasn't sure I could escape, but I did it anyway. The week dragged like a storm cloud over my head. I buried myself in the client project she had thrown at me, desperate not to fail. Every time I looked up from my desk, I could feel her presence from across the glass walls of her office. Cold during the day, but different when no one was watching. Her gaze lingered too long. Her words carried double meanings, and when she passed behind my chair, her perfume always lingered a beat too long, making it impossible to focus. By Friday night, the office was empty. Everyone had gone home, everyone but me. The deadline was brutal, and I sat under the glow of a desk lamp, drowning in spreadsheets. I told myself I was alone, but then I heard the unmistakable sound of heels clicking across the polished floor. Victoria was still here. I froze as her shadow stretched across my desk. Slowly, I lifted my eyes and there she was, standing in the dim light, wine glass in hand, her red blouse catching the golden reflections from the city skyline outside. "You work late," she said softly. Not a question, a statement. "I have to," I muttered, trying to keep my eyes on the papers. "You gave me this project," she smirked. "I wanted to see how far you'd go to prove yourself." She stepped closer, placing her glass on my desk. The stem wobbled dangerously, spilling a drop of red onto the papers. My heart thudded. She leaned on the desk with both hands, bending slightly, her face inches from mine. "And am I worth the effort?" The air grew heavy, my throat locked. "This isn't professional," I whispered, though I wasn't sure if I was warning her or myself. Her smile deepened. "Professional? That's cute." Her hand slid one of my papers aside, then another until my desk was nearly bare. Then slowly she picked up my pen, twirling it between her fingers like it was suddenly dangerous. "You don't look afraid of me," she said. "I am," I admitted, terrified. Her eyes glinted. "Good. Fear makes people honest." For a heartbeat, I swore she would close the distance. My pulse screamed. My body leaned forward without permission, and her lips hovered near mine. So close I could almost taste the forbidden. But just when the world shrank to that moment, a knock shattered it. We both froze. The office door creaked open, and one of my colleagues, Mark, poked his head in, eyes wide with confusion. Still working?" he asked, his gaze flicking between us, sensing the tension like static in the air. She straightened instantly, cold mask snapping back into place. "Yes, he's finishing a critical project," she said firmly, her tone leaving no room for suspicion. Mark stammered something and backed out, closing the door. Silence returned heavier now. I looked at her, waiting for her to dismiss me, to walk away, to undo what had almost happened. But instead, she leaned close again. Her voice a razor-sharp whisper. "Be careful. People are watching." She picked up her wine glass, took one last sip, and walked away, leaving me shaking in my chair, torn between dread and desire. And as the door clicked shut behind her, I realized the truth. I didn't want to stop this. The following week blurred into whispers. I could feel it in the hallways, the glances from colleagues, the sudden silence when I entered a room. That late-night moment with her hadn't been seen, but it had been felt. People knew something was happening, even if they didn't dare name it. And that made everything worse. When she summoned me to accompany her to a networking gala, I almost refused. But refusing her wasn't an option. The ballroom glittered with chandeliers, polished marble, and too much champagne. Executives, investors, board members. It was a stage where appearances meant everything. Victoria arrived like a queen, wrapped in a satin crimson dress, her hair pinned perfectly, her glasses catching the golden light. I walked 2 steps behind, carrying a folder as if I were nothing more than her assistant. That was the image. But inside, I burned with the memory of her leaning across my desk, whispering things no boss should ever whisper. She kept her distance in public, cold, untouchable. But every so often, her hand brushed mine when she handed me a file, or her glance lingered one beat too long. Each stolen second was poison disguised as honey. Then he appeared, the rival, tall, sharp, older than me, in a tailored suit that screamed power. Richard kissed her cheek like he had every right to, his hand lingering at her waist. My stomach nodded. She smiled politely, but I saw the stiffness in her jaw. "This is Richard," she said flatly. "An old associate." His eyes flicked to me, sizing me up, then narrowing with a cruel smirk. "So, this is your assistant? Interesting. He looks green. Young, very young." I clenched my jaw, forcing a smile. "Nice to meet you." He leaned closer, voice dripping with poison only I was meant to hear. "You're not the first. You know, she gets bored easily." The words hit like a blade. But before I could react, she placed a hand on my arm, light, almost invisible, but grounding. Her fingers curled just enough to silence the storm inside me. "Richard," she said coolly, "don't mistake youth for weakness. He's more capable than you think." For a split second, her touch lingered, dangerously intimate for a public setting. My skin burned under her hand. I almost forgot we were surrounded by people, almost forgot the cameras, almost forgot everything but her. Richard smirked again, raising his glass. "Well, see." The rest of the evening was a blur of conversations. I barely heard. My attention was fixed on her on the way her mask of control never slipped in public. Yet her hand found my shoulder when no one was looking. The way her eyes found mine across the room, holding me hostage. Later, as the gala thinned and the music softened, I found myself beside her at the edge of the balcony overlooking the city. The night air was cool, but her presence burned like fire. "You shouldn't let him get to you," she said quietly, sipping her champagne. "Why did you defend me?" I asked, her eyes cut to mine, sharp and unreadable, then softer. "Because you're mine, at least for now." The forbidden weight of her words crashed over me. She stepped closer, close enough that our shoulders brushed, close enough that my body screamed to close the last inch between us. I turned toward her, my pulse a drum beat, my breath caught for a heartbeat. I was certain she would let me kiss her, certain she wanted me to, And then just as my lips parted, she whispered, "Careful. People are still watching." She stepped back, leaving me stranded in the fire she had lit, and I realized the most dangerous thing about her wasn't the risk of losing my job. It was the risk of losing myself. I dreaded Monday. The gala had left me restless, replaying every second of her touch, her whisper, her claim. "Because you're mine." Those words wrapped around my chest like chains. But so did Richard's smirk, his warning. What if he was right? What if I was just another disposable toy? When I arrived at the office, my nameplate was gone from my desk. My stomach dropped. A wave of whispers rippled through the cubicles. Then I saw it. An envelope on my chair, crisp and heavy. Termination papers. I barely breathed as I carried it to her office. The door was closed. My knuckles hovered, then knocked. "Come in." Victoria's voice was calm, unreadable. She sat behind her desk, glasses glinting, hair perfectly in place. But her expression, it wasn't the mask of a CEO. It was something colder, more dangerous. The envelope in my hand trembled. "You wanted to see me?" I asked. She leaned back, eyes fixed on me. "Yes. I thought it was time to end the game." I placed the envelope on her desk. "So, this is it?" She didn't touch it. Instead, she rose slowly, walking around the desk until she stood directly in front of me. Her perfume wrapped around me, intoxicating. "Forbidden. You embarrassed me at my birthday," she said softly. "You've distracted me at work. You've made people talk. Couldn't breathe. Then fire me. End it." She tilted her head, studying me like I was a puzzle she hadn't finished. Then, with deliberate slowness, she reached out and placed her hand on the envelope, then tore it in half. The sound of ripping paper cut through the silence. "You're not fired," she whispered. "Not yet." I blinked. "What do you want from me?" Her hand brushed against mine as she dropped the shredded papers into the trash. The touch was electric, pulling every nerve in my body taut. She leaned in, her lips so close to my ear, I thought I might shatter. "I want honesty," she breathed. "No more jokes. Tell me why you really said it." My throat tightened. I could lie. I could laugh it off. I could protect myself, but I didn't because I can't stop thinking about you. I admitted because every time I see you, I forget you're my boss. And because I wanted it to be true. Her breath caught just barely. For the first time, I saw the mask slip. A flicker of vulnerability. A woman, not just a CEO. The space between us shrank until nothing existed but her eyes and my pulse. I was certain this was the moment. Her lips almost brushed mine, the world spinning into something dangerous and forbidden. But just as the heat became unbearable, she stepped back. Her smile returned sharp as glass. "You're reckless," she whispered, "and reckless men either burn out or burn brighter." She moved to her desk, slipping her glasses back on as though nothing had happened. "Get back to work," she said, voice cool but trembling at the edges. I stood frozen, heart pounding, every cell screaming. Fired, saved, chosen. I didn't know. All I knew was that this wasn't the end. Not even close. Because when she looked at me one last time, her eyes said what her lips wouldn't.